Welcome to Level Up Tribes. Level Up Tribes provides resources to help you attain the necessary resources to level up your mind, body, and soul and realize your full potential. It is about exploring, learning, providing you with the tools from the experts for you to create a better version of yourself. I am your host, Agnes Goodwine, and welcome, Tribes. Welcome to Level Up Tribes podcast again, your second time. Sonja Marie is with Agnes Marie today. Hey. Sonja Marie is a Western astrologer of Word Life Astrology, and she's also an astrology columnist for Essence magazine. And now we can add author to that list. Of the signs and astrology memoir. Very cleverly written too. I saw your personality come through the chapters. And the reason I say cleverly is because, I've read a lot of astrology books and they just kind of go into the signs and, the personality of each sign, but you kind of gave that extra story behind it of things that happened to you in each chapter, which was really nice to get to know you.
Thank you.
In a deeper level. So it was awesome. I kind of jumped into my sign first.
I was going to ask because I'm kind of taking a survey as to how people approach the book. Yeah. So I'm glad you told me that. Did it feel natural to do that? Or and will you go back and read the other signs that pertain?
So this is what I did. I went straight to my sign. And then I read my husband. We read it together. And then I went back and read my sons and kind of went in that order.
Okay. Oh, I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. Yeah, I entitled it The Signs and Astrological Memoir because I thought that it would be, I wouldn't use the word clever, but I'm glad you did that because that made me feel good. I'm glad you said that. That made me feel good. But I was thinking I wanted it to be different in a sense, because as you were about to say, there are a lot of astrology books out there. And by the way, there aren't too many astrology books by Black women, Black and brown women. So honestly, maybe a handful. And I thought that why go from the instructional perspective and try to show everybody that, astrology is really alive and as above, so below. It dictates the movement and the energy in which we live our lives and the conversations that we have and the decisions that we make. So why not try to, formulate that or display that in a story about me? A lot of people don't know about me and I'm pretty transparent. But at the same time, it's always good to see it or hear it or read it and go, oh, wow, I remember when I did such and such like that. I guess that must have activated the Aries in me or the Taurus in me. So I appreciate you commenting on that. It was fun to do that.
What was the reason behind it? What was that moment that nudge that said, I need to create this?
Well, to be truthful with you, it was almost out of necessity. About 4 years ago, I met a wonderful guy named Jeff Hudson, and he put me down with the Steve Harvey Show and the Doctors, right? And I appeared on those television shows, and we had a really intense conversation one night. And he said, you have to write a book. He said, sometimes a book or something that you can produce or people can take away is almost like a calling card. And I started to think about it, mull over it. I honestly resisted for a minute, only because I am a poet and I love to write, but writing a novel is a whole nother discipline, or writing a book that's beyond a paragraph long is a whole nother discipline. So I was afraid. There was a lot of fear going into it. And then I started to think, when I started to do research and realized that there were no other voices that kind of represented Black and brown women. And here's the deal. Anybody can take away from this book, but again, we don't have enough representation in certain industries. And I think books are like that fossil situation. You know what I mean? It's like a piece of fossil. Like you can find this book 100 years from now and still be able to relate to it because the universe is still here. You know what I mean? So it's like why not, Sonja, push through some type of discipline and work a little extra harder to leave a piece of yourself here on the planet when you leave?
What a legacy that you're leaving behind for your family and your son, to look back. I
Thank,
love it.
thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yes. How has it been received?
I believe really, really well. I mean, to be truthful with you, you never really know, right? Not unless you're a fly on the wall and you can hear honest conversation. I'm not saying that people who love me aren't honest, and the wonderful family that I've, constructed on social media are not honest, but, people tend to, want to make you feel good. So I'm always looking for open and honest, information or feedback. And for the most part, I think people are receiving it well. I did get a note that someone would have liked an epilogue at the end of the book to kind of like wrap it all up. And I said, wow, I never even thought about that. Then he said, well, it's always good to leave people guessing.
Yeah.
And I said, well, if you think about it like that, Sonja always does that. I mean, Agnes, to be honest with you, when I perform on stage, and the set will call for an hour-long set, I always give 45 minutes. Only because you want to be able to have people anticipate. Yeah. Sometimes if you go too long, it's like, okay, that was nice, Your welcome is worn out now. You can go, the book is done. So I like people wanting more.
No, you did an amazing job. And but let me just tell you the things that are my favorite things about this book.
Okay.
Okay. And then we can dive deep into those reasons of why you added those in there. So you mentioned and you use Archangel Haniel. Am I pronouncing her name correctly?
Haniel, yep.
Haniel. Why did you choose her?
Because Archangel Haniel is the archangel that deals with astrology, that deals with the metaphysical, that deals with astronomy, that deals with the universal connections of all the wonderful things that are in particular galaxies. She transfers that coded information to human beings. That's her responsibility. That's her job. So oftentimes when I pray or when I'm about to do a reading, I call on her. And to be quite honest with you, because you know me, I can see her and she's so beautiful. She's really angelic and she kind of like comes over you with these white and purple wings and she hovers to like literally just take the information. I know it's gonna sound crazy, but this is what I see. She takes the information from the heavens and dumps it right on in. And it sounds like another voice to me. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking I have to employ, the angels and the entities and the folks, my ancestors that roll with me all day, every day to be able to do my work. And that's why I invited her in. I could have wrote a whole book in Haniel's voice, to be quite honest with you.
Well, second book. There you go. Stay tuned.
I know.
Well, I never heard of her. And so thank you for introducing her to me because I actually downloaded some stuff about her. So when I do my meditation, I'll definitely tap into her now. So that was a blessing. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And you also, the questions, okay, that you provide after each chapter are so thought-provoking. That was genius.
Thank you.
That was genius. I mean, and they're deep questions too. Third one of my favorite things was the mantras. I love mantras. I use mantras every day. Those three things are like jewels.
Well, I have to attribute some of it to a writing coach that I had. The reason why I hired someone, although I can write a lot. I have 56 journals. So I love to write. Her purpose was to help me to put together, her name is Kim O'Hara, by the way. And her purpose was to help me put together a formula in the book. Because if it was up to Sonja, I would just speak in Haniel's voice and not even call it Haniel's voice and just be like, blah, you know what I mean? But she said, most people like to be led, or in reading a book, they want to be told what they're reading and it has to flow. So there's an expectation. And I was like, wow, okay. So I'm really hired for her for a number of different reasons, but I never really thought about it like that. She helped me to comprise these different compartments. I started to come up with these compartments. I'm like, okay, so if I'm going to talk about X, Y, and Z, then possibly they should have some questions to think about at the end, because we're still growing, right? We're still learning ourselves. My whole thing is that we are our sun signs for sure, but we have come to the planet to be the best part of our sun signs. So how do we continue to evolve in the sun signs that we are if we don't ask ourselves hard questions? You know, how do we continue to evolve in the sun signs we are if we don't call on an entity that can help us through that? So that's kind of where that broke down, and she actually made it really, really systematic, and it just came out like that, you know.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And you know, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but I wrote 2 books at the same time in 6 months.
What?
Yes. As soon as COVID hit, I hired my writing coach like in November 2019. This time last year, we were well on our way. And then COVID shut everybody down. And I was like, okay, well, this is the best time to get it going then. But it was an arduous process. Like I went head on. So each week I had the assignment to write. In the first 6 weeks, it was a chapter for each book. And there are 12 chapters in each book. And one book, of course, is the astrology book, the Signs and Astrological Memoir. And then the second book is a book about my aunt's disappearance, how she came to California, unbeknownst to anyone in the family, and ended up staying on Skid Row for 11 days. It was a journey. So at the same time, I'm writing these 2 books that literally, Agnes, have 2 different voices.
Wow.
And 2 different emotions. And it was trippy. It was really, really trippy, but it came through, and it was like, whoa.
When you say it came through, are you talking about like spiritually coming through?
The words came through. I mean, of course, spirit ushered it and orchestrated it without a doubt. However, there were times where I would sit at the computer and say, I have no words. I mean, like, honestly, like I couldn't formulate a sentence because I felt like I was fresh out of words. But I had to stop and go back to the feeling or go back to what I really wanted to say and honestly just let it come out. Just let it come through instead of me pushing it, forcing it. There were times where I had to check out and just hit the keys and just go, regardless of editing or how crazy it might sound or the grammatical errors. I just had to literally let it come through and then go back over it later to try to make sense of it, because I had to channel. Like I had no wherewithal where I was at times. Like, was I on the street helping Diane, or am I talking about Virgos? Like I was just like, woo, you know what I mean? It was a back and forth.
So what's the status of the second book then?
Oh, it's written, and we're going to release it sometime next year. It's going to be a whole different distribution plan, but we're going to see what happens with that. The astrology book I'm doing independently, but I think I'm going to sort after a publisher for Diane's book, and it's called Squirrel. It's called Squirrel.
Squirrel. You say that a lot too.
I do.
Your squirrel moments. Your squirrel moments. So is she behind that?
What do you mean?
Like when you say, because you use that all the time, which I think is hilarious, do your squirrel moment. So what's the connection with you saying?
Oh, because I say squirrel all the time, I thought it would be cute for people that like yourself that recognize that.
Okay.
The title is Squirrel, but the real reason is because when she disappeared, we all squirreled out. Like she squirreled out and just honestly picked up herself, her pocketbook and some money and left Yonkers on and went to JFK and bought a one-way ticket at 5:30 in the afternoon. Like she just squirrel. Just went, and then it took everybody else in the family or the immediate family to the left to squirrel out to try to find her. So it literally was a pause and a deviation from life in order to figure out where she was.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
I want to pause here for a second because Level Up Tribes podcast is about, leveling up. And so I want to just take a moment and see if you can share a little bit of resources, right? So if someone's listening and they want to write a book, I heard you say that you use a coach. right? Very quickly, like what if someone's listening, they want to write a book, what would be like a process of that?
Of using or utilizing a writing coach?
Uh,
Well, there's several out there. To be honest with you, I prayed on it because prayer is everything to me. And I trusted what God was going to send me. And literally within a week or so, a friend of mine was like, "Oh, Sonja, you want to write a book, don't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I've been thinking about it. Oh, I have a friend who's a coach." And literally just walked into my door. And from there, I just trusted the process. I
mm,
just trusted the process. There are not too many times where I question spirit and I question intuitive hunches.
yeah.
Only because I've learned to just roll with it, even if it turns out to be a mistake, because there's a great lesson in that. There's necessary tools in that, whatever the case may be. There's victory in it, whatever. So it was just one of those hunches, one of those intuitive hits, like, yeah, we're going to roll with this. So in hiring her, I'll be truthful with you, it was a little challenging at times because I'm strong-minded and so is she. She's a beautiful, brilliant, smart white woman, and I'm obviously who I am. And the bottom line was that we came from two different worlds. And there it was her world of the literary world, and it was my world of the voice and what I'm doing. So we had to kind of find a way to connect the two. And it was a lesson in partnership. It was a lesson in not being as stubborn as you can. Is a lesson in being a little receptive and open. But then there were lessons and sometimes where I had to like stand my ground and say, I know my audience. And one of the biggest hurdles was her saying, well, you can allow yourself to have a bigger audience if you can write in a voice that's a little bit more universal. And I stopped and I paused for a second. And this is no dig to her because we've had several conversations about this. I said, well, they're going to have to come to our audience this time. So many times, Agnes, we write as Black and brown women or Black and brown people. We write, we do things, we live our life, we buy our houses, we shop in certain supermarkets because what it is that this society led by a white man believes that it should be. And I'm really, really tired of that.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you come to my party? Why don't you come to my house? Why do I always have to go to your house? You understand what I'm saying? Why do I always have to play by your rules? Why do I have to speak with your voice?
Yeah.
This is my voice and it is worthy.
Right.
You understand me, don't you? So
Right.
I don't understand why can't I speak the way I speak and speak to the people that speak like me. So there were those moments. I know this is a longer answer, but
No, but so what's her sign? Yeah, to
she's
go
a
back.
Sag.
Uh,
She's a Sagittarius, which made it a lot of fun because I love Sag energy, but at the same time, it was real blunt.
mm,
And I'm a Cancer, so there were times where my feelings were a little hurt, but I had to stand up for my feelings and say, this is why I'm hurt, this is what's coming up for me, and I need you to back up and I need you to help me through this, as opposed to just being so blunt and brazen with your point. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
That's
yeah, it
that's
was a journey.
interesting. Yeah.
It was a journey. So I
And
would say
I'm pretty sure she probably learned something out of that discussion as well.
yes, she did. And she mentioned that a few times. And I'm grateful for that. Like the
Yeah.
two of us learning and growing. And, so you can't pay for things like that.
No.
You know what I mean? So, in regards to somebody wanting to write a book and possibly hiring a coach, just be open to it. Research, I should say, ask people for different resources. But the bottom line, I think, is to be okay with being uncomfortable because it's not going to be a walk in the park.
Right.
Besides like listening to her or taking her direction in certain areas, all of this emotion is coming up. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? The emotions about you being inferior, insecure, maybe you don't know enough. You know what I mean? There are other astrologers that might know more than me. Like, to be truthful with you, there's a whole plethora of just things that you never even thought lived in you that start to surface. And you're like, why am I thinking this as I'm writing this? I know my stuff. And it's like, yeah, but you never had to give it to millions of people, hopefully. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So Yeah, it's just a journey, man. Just be ready to take on the journey, but take it on. If it's deep in your heart as a writer, take it on because it'll be far worth it, more worth it than if you just sat home and just thought about it and talked about it all day. Yeah.
So do you think it's easier to self-publish than going through a publisher? Like, what's the difference? I don't understand the difference between the two.
Well, I can't honestly answer that question because I haven't had a publishing deal yet, right?
Okay.
So I can only speak from the perspective of knowing the two, and then I have to live the experience. So what we're doing again is independent publishing. We went through Book Baby, and the thing about it is you invest. You have to invest in yourself. You got to spend money in order to make money, possibly make money, if you can do that. You invest by having an outside, an independent publisher like Book Baby or Amazon or somebody putting the book together and then distributing it for you. A publishing deal is when you could get a publishing deal through a big publishing house like Hay House, right? Um, and they basically put it together. They help to edit it for you and they distribute it for you. They give you a signing bonus. They take a little bit off the top. Like they are literally your managers and your house. They're your team. However, they when you involve more people on your team, there are more voices. There's
Mm,
more opinions. So it's the obvious thing of when you're independent, you run with your own ideas and you run your own ship. But you have to spend a little bit more money and you might not go far fast. When you're with a publishing deal or you have a publishing deal, you have a team behind you, you have muscle behind you, you have money behind you. You can distribute the thing, but then you have more voices that's helping to dictate your path, which can be tricky. So it depends on who you are, how you want to do it, what your story is about. Because I think with the signs, it was good to put it out independently. It's the first book. I have a nice little, group of people that want to hear it. But with Diane's book, Squirrel, I think it's going to be a situation where I need to get a publishing deal, only because it's a wider story. There's a lot of homeless people. There's a lot of people that have had families that are on the street. Agnes, it's incredible. It's incredible. You know, I'm in LA and literally the homeless population has doubled since COVID.
yeah.
And people are not only out on the street because they lost their jobs, but they're running away from their families like my aunt did. People want to be on, some people honestly want to be on the street. Some people, I mean, it's so many stories, but the bottom line is wide and spread. So it's like that would probably be an opportunity for me to give it to somebody and let them help me grow it. Put me on a nice little tour, gather me with other speakers and other, authors because they have those resources too. It's a bigger, machine, so to speak.
Yes. Is that book going to be universal?
It's definitely true to my roots because it's my story and it's from my perspective. However, there are nuggets in there that aim towards society and why homeless people are homeless, that aim towards mental illness and why my aunt ended up on the street, that aim towards low income housing, how my family has grown up and the neglected attitude or the neglect that we have for our children and how they grow up not feeling worthy. There's so those stories and those nuggets are very universal. However, the particular story is from my voice, which I think everybody can see.
Yeah. You mentioned in the book, which I wrote it down because it's so beautiful. We are all connected. Every sign has a magical and spiritual intention to add value to our lives. And so overall, like the book showed me that, especially when I'm at work with different personalities and trying to figure people out, to see people blueprint, so to speak, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And kind of go from there. Be
yeah.
like, because I'm a Virgo, I'm very like, set in my ways and um and so I need to kind of tap into maybe the Leo and be more creative and not afraid to step out of my comfort
Yeah,
zone, right?
yeah.
And I love that so much. You did an amazing job
You're so
And so
sweet.
I was going to ask you, I know you do your YouTube lives.
Hmm.
You do those weekly, right?
Yes.
Have you done one on just having a discussion about the book?
No. And that's probably a really good idea, to be truthful with you. Thank you for that. But what I did do, so I'm very loyal to the people that have supported me. And I put out this secret like pre-sale to the village and people that have gone on a retreat. And we did a private Zoom book release, which was about 60, 70 people, maybe a little
A
less.
lot.
Yeah. And so that was an opportunity for me to talk about the book. However, I can do a condensed version and give it to the public. So no, I haven't done that. I'm gonna think about that though, Agnes. And why did you ask that? Why you think that's a good idea to do?
I'm curious to see because that was kind of like my odd moment to when I'm in my relationship with my husband and we're having a conflict, or if I'm having a conflict with my, coworker, is there something else that I'm not seeing that I
Mm,
can do better?
mm,
Whether it's spiritually, whether it's using the astrology resources that you have given us through your book. So
mm.
just having that open dialogue, that there's something that I'm not thinking that someone else can share in regards to the book and the little nuggets that you gave us, to
Right.
say, how can I step? Because you're all about giving us tools, for us to step out there into this world, right? That's
Yes, ma'am.
like you're all about that. So just having open dialogues with other people, just to see what other like golden nuggets they got from the book, just like I
Okay.
got, that we
Okay.
can kind of like chat back and forth and be like, yeah, well, this is what I got from it. I don't know. I'm just curious to see what.
Different points of view.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I love that. I love that idea. And I think that's awesome. I'm gonna have to credit you for that when I do it because that's part of it, right? Like if we don't sometimes it's difficult enough growing on our own. But when we do come together as a village in this age of Aquarius in which we're in, and this great December 21st that's upon us, and how we have to kind of like use our village in order to soar, it's a lot easier to do it together, and we
Oh,
can learn from one another and lean on one another. And again, like you just suggested, like different perspectives, and it could just be a little easier. I'm with that. I'm with
what,
that.
I know you have an event on the 21st.
Mhm.
Do you want to talk about that?
Sure, it's a free seminar, and the signups are still open. We have about 200 people in the room.
What?
Is that crazy or what?
That's insane.
It's sold out in 3 hours. And my team was like, why are we giving it away for free? And I said, because this is an opportunity, truthfully, for everybody to come together again, like I just suggested, as a village and learn from like minded people. It's one thing to put it on YouTube and make it free for the world. It's another thing to cultivate your own little living room
Hmm.
so the energy is powerful and we can help one another grow into that. So you can still sign up for it. It's on Monday, December 21st at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And yeah, we'll just be talking about the wonderful changes that are happening in our universe, the age that we're about to go into, the eclipses that are happening, the alignment that's going down. Yeah,
Is
it's going to
is
be awesome.
that alignment? Something is happening on the 21st that it hasn't happened like in 800 years. Is that what you're referring to?
I am, and I think it's more like 6,000. Well, the thing is that there are a good 5 entities that are all within 5 degrees of one another. That's the alignment. So in the sky, literally, you'll have the sun, Jupiter, Saturn, and 2 other asteroids that are all lined up. And when that happens, it's like how can I put it? It's like a surge. It's like a magnetic surge, an energetic surge that sparks throughout the universe, and everything and everybody feels it. And it's truly a leveling up.
Oh,
Level up.
wow. Wow.
It's truly a level up kind of feel where you're like, whoa, I'm being taken somewhere. So here's the deal. What I'm suggesting, especially in this seminar, is that if you've been open, if you've been doing your work, if you've been crying, paying attention, if you've been face down, flat on the ground, like honestly trying to heal, we are gonna level up and receive rewards. I'm not saying nobody is gonna, not everybody, some people will be left behind leveling up. Everybody will level up to an extent. But if you've been working and you've been healing and you've been reaching, you're leveling up even more. They are opening up the freaking universe for us. Our ancestors and our guides, they're like, come on, let's go. We have to save the planet. We have to save the people on the planet. And I need those that are open and willing to heal through this and take the responsibility to do it in whatever corner of the globe that you're in. If you have 200 followers or 2 million followers, it doesn't matter. It's our responsibility to save this planet and to save the forward generation.
Ooh. Usually I'm excited about the new year, and I'm a little cautious this year. I don't know how to take it.
Yeah, I can dig that. Well, I'll be honest with you, I'll never promote fear, but I will say that the way I see it anyway, it's a time to be as clear as possible. I'm not saying don't celebrate. I think that we should celebrate being alive, but I don't think we should celebrate to the point where we feel like we're done. You understand what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah.
sometimes when you celebrate and you're like, woo, take your bra off, everybody's good. Let's have a good time. Everybody get drunk, drink 5 bottles. It's like, no, maybe 1 or 2, you know, go home a little early, get some good sleep, and
Yeah.
wake up and ready to get back to work. Why? Because we're still going to be working. We're still going to be implementing the information that's being downloaded to us. It ain't over. I mean, Corona's not disappearing. White supremacy is still alive. There's so many different industries that are breaking down to make way for this new energy to surge through. So we got to tighten it up. You know what I mean? If we don't, and if we're not vigilant, then we leave it up to the forces or to anybody else to do it for us. And we've done that way too many times. We've let them promise us, them, whoever them is, we've let them promise us a better day. Oh, don't worry about it. We'll take over. Oh, come to church on Sunday. You'll be forgiven. Like we let them do it. We let the people at the pulpits do it. And gurus are dead. Gurus are dead, Agnes. There's no more gurus in that sense. We are the gurus.
Yeah.
We are our own healers. You know, we've always had that power, but we have to claim it. So now is the time to like really step into that and take account of what it is that you can do, big or small. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Just do something to help humanity and help to heal yourself and your family.
So, is there anything else that you would like to add or discuss that perhaps we didn't touch on today?
Honestly, no. I really, really would encourage people to buy the book.
Yes, by the book.
It's very affordable. Get it for Christmas for some friends and family. But more importantly, start having discussions, you know, hard discussions about how people see you, how you see other people in your family. You know, really, in my opinion, I would urge to get in touch with dissecting yourself. And really speaking honestly and earnestly about your habits and the things that you want to leave, and prayerfully create a sacred space for those that are around you to do so. We need more compassion. We need more understanding, less cynicism than sarcasm and shit talking. You know, it's not about that any longer. It's never really has been, but we have to be a little bit more tender with each other. So, in seeing the flaws and the powerful personality traits in each sun sign, you can begin to celebrate each other, celebrate ourselves, you know, and empower one another. That's what it comes down to.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that wonderful gift that you gave, you know, not only your followers, but the world.
Thank you, baby.
It's beautiful.
I
So
appreciate
any,
you.
besides your book, your other book in 2021, any other like new projects that we should anticipate for
I'm working
2021?
on a few. I'm working on a few. I I'm putting together this little course thing online. Someone I'm trying to get my music back together, to be honest with you, to infuse the artist and the healer together, and and take it around the world once the world opens back up. However, who knows? Honestly, Agnes, I am an artist at heart, and a Renaissance artist at heart is what I like to consider myself. So we're forever changing. We're forever growing as artists and as people who just listen to the call. So who knows? Wherever God wants me to go, that's where I'm going. To be truthful with you, I'm just gonna keep doing my work until I'm not here any longer, and then I'll come and haunt everybody from the other side.
Oh my God,
I'll be like, Agnes, wake up! You know what to do, girl? Who is leave me alone?
I know. I'm not a morning person either, so yeah, that will be haunting. So, where can listeners, connect with you? What's the best way? Is it your website, YouTube?
All of it. My website is wordlifeastrology.com. I'm on Instagram, wordlife Sonja Marie, Sonja spelled with a J. Please join us every Monday, Sonja Marie's Word Life Astrology on YouTube for the weekly rundowns. We have a good time, as Agnes suggested. And just stay engaged, keep in touch, level up.
Yes, level up. Thank you, my
love. Level up.
I should use that as my introduction music. There might be copyrights to that, so I can't.
Yeah, but you'll be all right. Keep it under like 30 seconds or something. I'm sure there's like some kind of licensing stipulation.
Oh, this was so fun. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Always.
I love your energy.
I love your spirit.
Thank you so much.
Okay, take care.
Thank you for listening. Please visit the website at www.leveluptribes.com, and please subscribe to the podcast and share with your family and friends. Be sure to tune in to our next episode. Catch you all next time, my beloved tribes.